faithfully sharing value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hi there, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, we're diving into a book called The OKR Work Method. In this age of widespread entrepreneurship, startups are popping up everywhere like fish in a river, but very few manage to break through and succeed. Founders start off full of ambition with big plans and high hopes, but quickly, the investment money dries up, progress stalls, cash flow is on the verge of collapse, and the company nearly shuts down. The book's author, Christina Wadka, believes the odds of a startup going public are about the same as winning a multi-million-dollar lottery. Turning a great idea into reality and profit involves numerous management challenges. To tackle these challenges, you need a solid management approach to keep the company on track. In this book, Watke presents a management tool known as the OKR work method. The OKR method started at tech giant Intel and was then adopted by Google. As Google rose to become one of the top tech giants by market cap, folks started digging into its success and the OKR method gained attention. Since then, an increasing number of companies have adopted the OKR approach. Wadke, the author, was LinkedIn's chief product manager and a global expert in info architecture and product design. Plus, LinkedIn uses the OKR method too. So Wadke knows the OKR method inside out. In single quote, the OKR work method, Wadke tells a made-up startup tale. Two young Americans, Hannah and Jack, who love tea, noticed that cafes had great coffee but lousy tea options. So they launched a company to make sure tea enthusiasts can get a great cup anytime. Their brilliant idea got them funding, but clashes between them and management troubles nearly sank the business. In the end, with the OKR method guiding them, the company bounced back, landed a second round of funding, and grew by leaps and bounds. Wotke's story is made up, but this management approach really works. Let's dive into how this OKR method is designed, implemented, and works its magic. I'll explain the OKR method through 4 key questions. First, what is the OKR method? Second, how to set OKRs and what precautions should be taken. Third, how to implement OKRs. Fourth, how to evaluate OKR execution. Let's start with the first question. What is the OKR method? An OKR, O stands for objective, meaning the goal. KR is short for key results, meaning critical outcomes. Simply put, the OKR method involves setting a challenging quarterly objective, then defining 3 to 5 key results to ensure its achievement. For example, say a company wants to capture the Chinese market. Using OKR, their sales team sets a Q2 objective, capture East China's retail market first. How do we know this objective is achieved? The team defines 3 key results. First, hit 20 million in sales. Second, secure 20% market share. Third, acquire 8 new clients. This shows OKR's 2 key features: quarterly timelines and intense focus where everyone rallies around one objective. Like in our example, capturing East China's retail market. Recently, global giants like Google, LinkedIn, and Chinese firms like Baidu, Jihu, and ByteDance have adopted OKRs. With more startups following suit, their preference stems directly from these 2 features. Unlike traditional industries like auto or manufacturing, internet companies face lightning-fast changes, entering unknown fields or facing mid-project upheavals. Take those viral quiz for cash apps, hugely popular but gone within months. Quick adaptation, constant trial and error, and frequent adjustments are the biggest traits of internet companies. So goals shouldn't take too long to complete. And since OKRs are typically implemented quarterly, they fit perfectly with this characteristic of internet companies. Also, for some small startups, a major project might well be the company's entire business objective. Completing that key project means achieving the company's business goal. This also means everyone must focus intensely on the goal and push hard to achieve it. And the second feature of the OKR method is this intense focus. Now that we've covered what OKR is, how do we set objectives and key results properly? That's what I'm here to explain. Second question, how to set OKRs. First, you set the O, the objective. This is the most crucial part of the entire OKR method, guiding all subsequent work. The primary objective should revolve around the company's mission and set only one at a time. Typically, a company starts with a mission, which might come from the founder's idea or a dream they want to realize. For example, Amazon's Everything Store concept came from founder Jeff Bezos' vision to let customers find anything online at the lowest prices. Setting objectives is inseparable from the company's mission. The mission guides the company's direction. And OKR objectives are like signposts set along the company's journey forward. Therefore, objectives must never be vague or slogan-like. They must be directional, guiding, and aligned with the mission. In the book, Hannah and Jack, who love tea, started a company to supply restaurants with great tea from farmers so consumers can enjoy good tea instead of bad tea bags. Thus, they set the company's mission as getting good tea to tea lovers. Guided by this mission, they set the objective to prove to restaurant suppliers that their tea is top quality. Because suppliers control many restaurant resources, building relationships with them helps get more restaurants access to quality tea, advancing the mission. Also, you can only set one objective at a time, focusing on doing one thing well, and that's the most important thing. So Hannah and Jack had no experience when they started the company, facing many issues like insufficient sales staff, unstable website operation, and imperfect customer service processes. Initially, they wanted to solve all problems at once, setting 5 objectives, including hiring more salespeople and improving the website's business modules. But with so many objectives and the startup's limited staff, it was impossible to tackle them all simultaneously. Ironically, even Hannah, the founder, couldn't remember all the objectives. The result? After a quarter, the company made no progress. Setting too many directions is like having no objective at all. Second, objectives must have a time limit, ideally achievable within a quarter. If the time is too long with too many variables and factors to consider, it becomes strategic planning. If it's too short, the plan can't be fully implemented and you won't see results. Third, objectives must have a clear team responsible for completion. This is to avoid finger pointing and buck passing now that we understand the principles of setting objectives. Now, let's look at the specific steps for setting objectives. The process can be divided into 3 steps. First, gathering objectives. Gathering objectives can be done through brainstorming, encouraging all employees to participate and suggest what the company should achieve in a quarter. Through this collective wisdom, management or founders can uncover blind spots they hadn't considered. The second step is prioritization. Out of so many objectives, which are important, which are not, which need urgent attention, and which can wait. The author believes this is mainly management's job, as they have a high-level view of the company's finances, environment, policies, etc., enabling them to prioritize the top objectives. For example, in Hannah's company, hiring more salespeople and improving website modules are both important objectives. But for a startup, the most important thing is survival. Other objectives can be postponed. So they set the primary objective as serving existing restaurant suppliers well and expanding to more suppliers. Of course, managers from different departments think differently. The sales team thinks sales volume is top priority. The R&D team believes product quality is most important. And the finance team wants to cut costs and boost profit margins. Oh, each department has different starting points and opinions clash. So how do we solve this? Management needs to discuss even debate to decide the priority order of objectives, and then vote on the final goal. Mm. Step 3 is top-down communication and implementation. Company level objectives. Once set, the next step is top-down communication and breakdown. Management must ensure every department and team fully understands the company's objectives and that their set goals align with the overall company goals. From Hannah and Jack's Tea Company example, we see that even though they went off track at first by setting too many objectives, they quickly corrected it, carefully prioritized, and locked onto the most urgent single goal. Mm, mm, mm. That is the goal to prove to restaurant suppliers that our tea is high quality, which also centers on the company mission of getting good tea to tea lovers. After setting it, Hannah made sure everyone in the company knew the objective, understanding how the O in OKR is formulated. Now, let's look at setting KRs. KRs are key results, the key metrics that measure if the objective is achieved. So, what kind of key results should we set to ensure the objective is achieved? Um, which aspects are important metrics? Generally, we consider three main aspects: new customers, retention, and revenue. New customers refers to expanding the customer base. Retention means the engagement of existing customers. If existing customers churn, it means all the time and money spent acquiring them goes down the drain. The revenue is a hard metric. Its level determines if the company can survive. But these metrics aren't absolute. Some startups in early stages can't focus on revenue or financial metrics. They prioritize new user acquisition and enhancing product satisfaction. In other words, setting metrics should be flexible and tailored to the company's actual situation. For example, Hannah's company, since their sales team wasn't set up yet in the first quarter, their top priority was serving existing customers well and boosting their order volume, so retention and revenue became the key focus. For the objective of proving tea quality to restaurant suppliers, they set three key results. First, achieve an 85% repeat order rate. That's a retention metric, meaning 85% of existing customers would reorder tea. Second, 20% of repeat customers should complete reorders through self-service. Since Hannah's company operated online, self-service ordering was crucial for boosting efficiency. Third, hit 250,000 in transaction volume. That's the revenue metric. These three key results represented what Hannah's team needed to prioritize most. Each metric used quantifiable language, crucial for key results, making success clearly measurable. So what's the right number to set? Why set it at $250,000? Why not 100,000 or 500,000? Here's a new concept, the confidence index. It measures your confidence in hitting the target, 10%, 50%, or 90%. If you're only 10% confident, the target's too high. People give up when they see no hope of success. If you're 90% confident, it's too low, no challenge. The best key result should have a confidence index around 50%. Tough, but achievable, that pushes you to innovate and push harder. Google's Larry Page once said, "Aim for Mars and you might reach the moon. Aim for the moon and you won't leave the atmosphere." After learning about OKR setup, you might think sales-related OKRs are easy. They've got clear metrics like sales volume or new clients. But what about support departments? For example, how should R&D and finance departments set OKRs? Let's take the R&D department as an example. Their job is to develop products and ensure they run smoothly. So whether the products they develop meet customer needs is a key metric. Like Hannah's company's R&D department, which is essentially the web development team. Previously, there were issues with the website causing frequent errors in customer orders that led to canceled partnerships. Therefore, the R&D department's OKR could be set to reduce system order error rates. Throughout the OKR setting process, Vertical communication from top to bottom and horizontal communication between departments are crucial. The plan's success depends on thorough upfront communication. Everyone knows where to direct future efforts and what work needs to be done. It can be said that thorough communication is the key to OKR success. Thorough communication includes three aspects. The first aspect is ensuring everyone knows what's important and what's not. During OKR setting, focus on the important things and set aside the rest. The second aspect is what can be achieved and what cannot. For example, a revenue target with a 50% confidence index results from repeated communication and measurement. Another example is defining key potential customers between R&D and sales departments, which also stems from communication. The third aspect is ensuring everyone fully understands the objectives and key results after they're set. The author clearly states in the book that you must repeat it until their ears are calloused for them to truly absorb it. Ooh, Hannah encountered issues with poor communication. After Hannah clarified that the sales target was restaurant suppliers, the other founder, Jack, still focused on selling tea directly to restaurants. He spent much time attending offline tasting events organized by restaurants and cafes, neglecting his core duty of improving the online system. This led to repeated order errors due to system issues, causing them to lose a major restaurant customer. You see, even with two people setting OKRs together, there can be a lack of full understanding by one party, let alone team members further down the chain. All right, that wraps up the second question, how to set up the OKR method. Now, let's recap the three principles for setting objectives. First, the objective must be singular and crystal clear. Second, it must have a time limit, ideally 1 quarter. Third, it should be completed by a dedicated team to avoid finger pointing. For key results in OKR, consider two things: measurable outcomes and a 50% confidence index. Oh, and communication is the golden key. Only through thorough communication can we anticipate outcomes and ensure everyone understands the OKRs. And make absolutely sure everyone fully grasps the set objectives and key results. So once OKRs are set, is it smooth sailing? Just sit back and wait for results? If managers think that, they're dead wrong. OKR isn't a one-off deal. It won't magically happen when the deadline hits. It's an ongoing process. Which brings me to the third question: how to implement the OKR method. Long before implementing OKRs, you need to assess potential team risks. Are there internal team issues? Is someone slacking or even sabotaging? What about customer satisfaction? Is employee service up to par? Then assign colors to critical statuses. Green means all good. Yellow means monitor closely. Red means urgent action needed. Hannah and her team discussed customer satisfaction and team morale. Both agreed customer satisfaction was red. They'd lost a client due to system errors. Jack committed to addressing system issues in this quarter's OKR. For team morale, they flagged it yellow. Previously, a tech engineer named Eric, his constant complaints dragged down the whole team's spirit. After Eric left, the new engineer just started, so it's unclear if morale will improve. So they marked morale yellow, needs monitoring, but the priority remains boosting customer satisfaction. Once internal and external factors are controlled, it's time to create concrete work plans to achieve the goals. In the OKR method, you only list work plans related to objectives. Daily tasks stay off the list. This ensures everyone concentrates time and energy on the most critical goals. Work plans typically fall into two categories. First, weekly plans listing 3 to 5 priority ranked tasks. Second, a 4-week advancement plan. This helps employees spot future cross-departmental coordination needs early, avoiding last-minute scrambles. For example, Hannah's company has 4 weekly tasks. First, signing a new restaurant supplier. Second, finalizing the order system requirements document. Third, scheduling 3 sales candidate interviews, all directly tied to revenue and repeat order metrics. Priority level, top tier. Worth designing customer service workflows, a secondary support task with tier 2 priority. Other routine tasks weren't listed. The 4-week plan includes server procurement and market development. These aren't urgent but require future resolution. All right, that's the OKR implementation process. It breaks into 2 steps. First, pre-implementation assessment of team cohesion, customer satisfaction, etc. Second, creating detailed work plans, both weekly and 4-week. Now, the final step, my fourth question, how to evaluate OKR implementation. Evaluation comes in 2 forms, daily and quarterly. Let's start with daily evaluation. In daily work, many list plans but struggle to find time for execution. To ensure orderly progress, teams need regular tracking baked into routines. The author suggests 2 weekly meetings, Mondays to announce that week's focus, Fridays to review accomplishments and celebrate wins. In both meetings, everyone focuses on what challenging issues emerged. Has the confidence index for our key metrics changed? If it's gradually rising, it means things are moving in the right direction. If it stays stuck at 50% or even drops, then it's time for a team level review. So, how do we conduct this review? The book doesn't detail this, so I'll briefly extend the concept here. Specifically, the team should evaluate 2 areas: employee execution capability and project execution conditions. Evaluating employee execution means team members reassessing if they can continue the project. For example, do they fully grasp project goals? Can they coordinate with other departments? Can they communicate smoothly with clients? During this assessment, leaders can help by discussing problems with employees to boost decision-making and execution skills. Evaluating project conditions means assessing if the project can move forward. For instance, has the external environment shifted? Is cross-department communication smooth? Has completed work produced expected results? Say the R&D team improved website ordering. Did it actually make things easier for customers or add complexity? This requires managers to control and adjust OKR implementation pace, keeping the team aligned with objectives. If major issues arise during OKR execution, the author advises against immediately changing objectives since they're carefully chosen to serve the mission. But after thorough discussion, teams can adjust key results. Like when Uber China set an OKR 1 quarter to recruit more drivers, defining 2 key results. First, increase driver base by 20%. Second, raise average weekly driving hours to 90. This OKR didn't anticipate competitors growing rapidly. After rivals Didi and Kuwaiti entered China, Uber's 20% increase became near impossible. Uber couldn't easily change its driver recruitment objective. It was essential for growth, but adjusted the first key result from 20% to 12% due to market shifts. And thus, the quarter ended with 1 OKR completed. Now, it's time for the quarterly review. According to Google's practice, after completing OKRs, employees rate the quality of their OKR completion on a scale from 0 to 1. What score can they get? Generally speaking, the ideal score isn't a full 1, but between 0.6 and 0.7. Scores below 0.4 or as high as 1 suggest potential issues with how the objectives were set. The author specifically reminds us that the first time setting OKRs is prone to failure, and everyone will encounter various problems. In many startups, once an OKR fails, the management immediately thinks the objective is flawed and changes direction. But the author believes that reasons for OKR failure are diverse. It might just be that an employee didn't fully understand the objective or was a bit lazy at work. After OKR failure, don't give up easily. Keep summarizing and trying repeatedly. For example, Hannah's company set 5 objectives in their first OKR. After failure, if Hannah agreed with Jack's view that the restaurant supplier path wouldn't work and gave up, then there wouldn't be. Later, the company succeeded. All right, that concludes how to evaluate the OKR method. Now I'll summarize. Evaluating the OKR method is divided into daily evaluation and quarterly evaluation. Daily evaluation involves tracking progress, assessing the confidence index. When it drops, consider whether it's due to employee execution issues or project execution obstacles. Quarterly evaluation requires everyone to score the OKR completion, with zero point 0.6 to zero point 0.7 being the ideal range. Even if OKRs fail, it's normal. Summarizing and reflecting is what leads to success. I hope by now the OKR method has been fully introduced to you. In summary, the OKR method involves first setting a measurable, challenging objective, then ensuring the team consistently moves toward it without distractions. Finally, during the journey, maintain a steady pace, support each other, and encourage one another. At this point, some might think the OKR method only applies to company management, but it's actually equally suitable for individuals. Let's take an example of learning English. Many people pass the CET 4 or CET 6 in college, but find they can't smoothly communicate in English at work. For example, your pronunciation isn't standard, your vocabulary is limited, and you struggle to understand others. At this point, imagine yourself as a one-person team using the OKR method to boost your English. What's your mission? Master English to boost career competitiveness? Then set yourself a 3-month goal. How about achieving basic fluency in speaking and listening? What counts as reaching basic fluency? First, master correct pronunciation of all vowels, consonants, linking, and reduction. Second, master 3,000 common words and phrases. Third, understand 10 consecutive VOA Special English reports without trouble. Next up, you can outline your weekly study plan. Week 1, study phonetics. Master 300 words, intensively read 5 VOA articles. Then weekly reviews and new plans. Reward yourself with a nice meal when completed. How does that sound? With such a detailed plan, learning English well isn't that hard, right? All right, that's our take on the OKR method. You'll find the reading notes below the audio. See you tomorrow.